Recently, Barack Obama went to speak to a group of African Americans in regards to the potential low turnout of African American men who's not supporting Kamala Harris. He was speaking, but my question today is, was anyone listening? Well, we're here to talk about it on the next Blac-Vocracy. Buckle up. Let's go. Welcome and thank you for joining me on another episode of Blac-Vocracy. I'm your host, Jabril A. Rashad, and I'm streaming over the airwaves of YouTube as well as Facebook. If you don't mind, thank you for supporting me, but I need for you to hit that subscribe, like, and that share button, okay? I want to get into this recent conversation, or should I say really statement, in regards to former President Barack Obama as he spoke to a group of African-American people in regards to the low potential turnout of African-American male support for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, he spoke, but the question is, was anyone listening? And according to some of the polls and some of the backlash that was on the media, it seems like he may have just sealed Kamala Harris' fate. But before we get into any of it, I'm going to play a clip and then we'll talk about it. Listen to this.
Speak some truths, if you don't mind. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly. And say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got health care, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out? But, you know, because of Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time.
You know, there are several statements that he made in referencing why African-American men, there seems to be such a low support for Kamala Harris, by alleging that those who choose not to vote for Kamala Harris must be, for lack of a better word, misogynist, that they hate the black woman. He mentioned in regards to something referencing about someone who looks like us, someone who's had our same experiences. And I find that to be very interesting, because I'm on record too as saying, if she felt that way about African-American men, then why didn't you marry one? You know, I mean, it's as simple as that. If you really support African-American men, really are concerned, really care about African-American men as a whole, why didn't you marry one? But that's neither here nor there. I have much to say, but I'm going to set aside some of the things that I'm going to be speaking about in just a second here, because not only do I have a clip of individuals, but I also have a clip of an individual who's on record, who's going to vote for Kamala Harris, who disagreed with Barack Obama's statement. I'm talking about Stephen A. Smith. Listen to what he has to say.
Respectfully, President Obama, what you said is not acceptable. I'm going to say it again. Respectfully, what you said is not acceptable. Not to me, not to a host of black men out there who's not even thinking about voting for Donald Trump. What you said is unacceptable. I'll tell you why in a minute. But before I do that, I want to go to Khalil Thompson, co-founder and executive director of Win with Black Men, who responded to criticism of Obama's comments. Take a look at what he had to say here. Quote, I believe President Obama is speaking to a tangible, visceral understanding of what it means for all men to relate to women in America. Calling out misogyny is not wrong. End quote. To co-founder Khalil Thompson, you're wrong too. And what you said is unacceptable. You see, what you're missing is that you're basically accusing black men who come up with a reason to not support Kamala Harris as engaging in misogyny. Whatever happened to disagreeing without being disagreeable, President Obama? What happened to that? All of a sudden, we want to challenge men and our love and our affection as black men for black women. We want to bring that into question because we've got an election coming up and people may have the temerity to think differently than you. It's because she's a woman that she's in danger of losing this election. Didn't Hillary Clinton win the popular vote in 2016? Didn't she get over 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump in the popular vote for the 2016 election? Last time I checked, she's a woman. Are we there sitting here and implying that black men would be more apropos to support a white woman than a black woman? Is that what we're saying?
Now, let me lay my foundation briefly here so it won't be no misconstrued, no misunderstanding of how I stand, my position on it all. First and foremost, and I don't know how many times that I've had to say this, but I guess I have to continue to say it because some people just live in a state of dubious thinking. But again, I am apolitical. Apolitical. If you don't know what that word means, please go look it up. Apolitical. Meaning I don't really have a dog in the fight because I've chosen to no longer play in their sandbox. However, I do recognize the left and I recognize the right. I recognize both parties. I just choose to be a part of God's party. But what I'm going to do, as long as I have a commercial invested interest in this enterprise called America, called the United States, called capitalism, I'm going to voice my opinion like everyone else. What Stephen A. Smith is talking about, I do agree. There are many things that I disagree with Stephen A. Smith on, but on this particular topic, I agree. You can't narrate the story or try to author the story based on your perception as if this is 2008 all over again, because it's not. You've shown with your proven record as the 44th president in the 8 years of office, Oval Office that you resided in, that African-American people, we didn't make a change. I think you campaigned on that, right? Yes, we can make a change. You campaign on that, right? But how is that looking fast forward in 2024? I think African-American people still don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. I think that we're still wrapped up in the matrix, and I think that it's suicide. It is economically suicide. And as the saying goes, then part of insanity is continue to do the same thing over again, expecting to get a different what result. And so here we are, we find ourselves in the same situation while everyone else is still coming over here to this country illegally, might I say. And African-American people are still the lowest on the totem pole. Now, why is that? So a person can't have a different way of proceeding or looking at this and have a disagreement, agree to disagree. Again, I'm not here to advance a vote for either candidate. If that's how you feel, if that's your position, fine with me. But you have to respect other people's position as well. And like I said, I have a bit of personal history where I've had to sit and watch 12 and a half years. I sat and I watched, even under Barack Obama's administration, when he had two African-American attorney generals, Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. And there was still a lynching of African-American brothers who sat wrongfully in these federal and state prisons and had the largest imprint when it came to mass incarceration. And yet Barack Obama, he supported the alphabet community during his second election. So now you come out as if we supposed to listen to you, as though you're the Messiah. Well, you never been my Messiah. And plus, I was under no illusion when you was selected to be in the Oval Office. Those are my words. I was under no illusion. And the fact of the matter is, I did vote for you the first time around. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm sober-minded. very sober-minded. But not only do I feel the way I feel, but many others also. So let's take a listen to some of the individuals who disagree with Barack Obama.
Now, you might not like my language in this video, so move on if you have sensitive ears. And also, send this video to Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I need to holler at you. Sit down so I can holler at you and look at me when I'm talking to you. Okay? So, it took me a day to respond because I wanted to give you time to think about how stupid you sound when you say you are ashamed that black people are not supporting Kamala Harris. And do you not realize that this is America? You are a former president. So you should realize, so you should know that this is America. And black people have the right to vote for and support whoever they want. Black people have the right to support and vote for whoever they want. I have the right to wear this red hat. I have the right to support Trump. Black people don't have to support Kamala Harris. Barack Obama, do you think people have to do what you say? We don't have to do what you say. Who do you think you are? You are not God. We don't have to worship you. True. You want us to get down on our knees and worship you and bow down to you, boy, bye.
This is not 2008 Barack Obama. Black men in this country are tired. For the great majority of whom I know, we're tired. And the fact of the matter is, because I've talked to individuals who just believe they still are stuck in the 60s, if you ask me, thinking that just because you don't attach yourself and line up with the Democratic Party, or you don't have a picture of John F. Kennedy hanging on your wall, or you're not attached to Christianity, or whatever that may be, as though you have this indifference to where your black card needs to be revoked. Nah, I think you're the one that's on corporate plantation. Most of us, we strive to have a better life. Most of us, we strive for the pursuit of happiness. Most of us, we understand the constitutionality of what that allows us to have, the freedoms and the liberties in this society. We understand that. And most of us choose not to continue to play in the sandbox. That's why I said that I'm apolitical. See, I'm from the justly balanced community. I will continue to say that. I don't lean too far left, meaning I'm not Democratic. Neither do I lean too far right, meaning I'm not Republican. I'm from a calibrated scale that's balanced from the middle of the pack. So I'm from the justly balanced community. I listen to both sides of the aisle because at the end of the day, all of them are walking away being millionaires for the great majority of them. So why can't I listen to both sides of the aisle and draw my own conclusion? When I'm listening to economic policies, when I'm looking at doing the signs of the time of what's happening today, where you got illegal people. Now I have no problem with migration. I'm simply talking about those who are coming over here illegally, getting EBT cards, not shutting down the border the way they should have. Those who are running up the poll flag faster than most African Americans go in and get a small bank loan to help start a business. These individuals are taking certain rights away, certain freedoms away in a lot of ways. Economic freedoms I'm speaking about more than anything. So you mean to tell me I can't go in and do my own observation? I can't study what's going on to draw my own conclusion. And yet the same individuals who are having these conversations, who may think that you're retarded in your thinking, never seem to take in consideration that you've been self-employed, you've been striving for excellence, you've been going after your own pursuit of happiness. You understand and recognize that poor people don't create jobs. They just don't. And when you ask Kamala Harris about an economic plan, she's still talking about taxing the rich. She's talking about price gouging. She's talking about landlords. You can't keep taxing the rich. The rich are the one who creates the jobs, creates the opportunities. And all that's going to happen at the end of the day, they're just going to move their companies elsewhere like they've done for a better tax break. That's not a real economic plan. Yes, I've ran several businesses, my own businesses, and we're very successful in those businesses. And I continue to get mine out the mud every day. So when I look at what's already happening, what's already going on, I'm going to have some pushback. And as I also said to one individual, I voted several times in the Democratic Party. But have you ever voted in the Republican Party? So either we, as African-American people, either we are involved in a superstition or it's customary, a tradition that you just have to vote Democrat every single time or you lose your black card. Nah, I pushed that back. I no longer subscribe to that. I said this once and I'll say it again. Since 1972, I was probably 6 years old. And I don't know why I remember this, but it was a powerful, it must have been something so powerful as my mother was speaking about it when I was about 6 years old, standing in the kitchen with her one day. And she was talking about how it was President Gerald Ford was taking over for Nixon and so forth, but how certain things had to be cleaned up from what the Republicans had started, even when President Carter was running for president. I've been hearing the same theme since I can remember, when I didn't even know what a cloture was, when I didn't even know what the Constitution stood for, what it was about. I didn't understand a Republican Party, didn't understand a Democratic Party. I've been listening to this same theme since I was 6 years of age. And just like I've done with many other subjects, I struck out on my own to study my own self-work's approval, to get a better understanding for myself, to raise my own self-horizon, as opposed to someone trying to share this information with me to indoctrinate me based on your personal experiences. I just don't see it the same. And I also recognize that anytime, well, let me just say it like this. Those who stands to benefit the most usually is the ones who put up the better fight. I'm going to say it again. The person who stands to lose the most puts up the better fight. And what am I talking about? It just seemed like with the witch hunt in regards to Trump, with the attempted assassination regarding Trump, to the smear campaign regarding Trump, I just see it for what it is. Why are they trying to destroy this man so much when back in the 80s, they was all supporting Trump, from Oprah Winfrey to Jesse Jackson, whom he supported when he was running for president. You had so many celebrities that were supporting Trump. They say, oh, well, because he was Democratic then. Really? I don't think Donald Trump's, because he was a millionaire then, multi-millionaire then, soon to be a billionaire. So his school of thought really haven't changed in terms of his principles of how he go about business, running a business, and getting his money. I even remember a good friend of mine was talking about him way back in the early 90s. Get the book on the art of the deal. I'll never forget this. He was speaking about Donald Trump and the book, The Art of the Deal, how we should get the book. Now, all of a sudden, fast forward, oh, this man is being convicted. He's a felon. He's a this, he's a that. And see, that doesn't move the meter with me, because I know wrongful people have been convicted. Hell, I was one of them. That don't move the meter with me. And if any of you all have ever been in my shoes, I could tell you right now, that dog just won't hunt. Just won't hunt. Because again, I know how they propagate certain information, twist the information, change the information to fit their own narrative. I've seen it, experienced it firsthand. So that don't mean anything to me, because again, if this was a moral election, if we was morally speaking about, should this man be in office because it's based on the moral compass, then we shouldn't have any of them in the Oval Office. Because the same thing that you mentioned about Donald Trump, I pushed the envelope back on the other side to Kamala Harris. Was she not dating former Mayor Willie Brown of San Francisco at the age of 29 as she was coming up? Was he not married? Is that not adultery? How did she come up? What was her indiscretions? See, all I know is that when God say, if he were to remove the earth by one thing that a person has done, there wouldn't be one person left. Not one. I'm going to say it again. God says, not Jabril, not Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden. God Almighty, the Most High God said, if he were to remove a people from the earth based upon what they have done, there wouldn't be one person, not one person left on this earth. So we have all these innuendos, all these things that we have to say. I've grown wise enough, old enough, and have a way better understanding than I did 30, 40 years ago about how the nature of some people move, how the thinking moves. Some people they have intellectual paralysis. They're just stuck. As I was telling a friend the other day, a bunch of fear mongering. Most of what happens in this society is a bunch of fear mongering. And I think that people should have a mature mind to be able to deal with sober concepts. And again, this is really not about pushing anyone's agenda. Vote who you're going to vote for, and let the chips fall where they may. I just truly believe that in terms of running us, because again, I don't think when I say this that you hear what I'm saying, but I don't think some of y'all get what I'm saying. When I talk about that the United States is a corporation, which was incorporated in 1871, and they went and did all of the copyrights, whether if it was U.S., United States of America, United States for America, America itself, all of that has been copywritten, and they incorporated in 1871 in London, England. Anybody who sits in the Oval Office is a CEO of a corporation. And the first responsibility, believe it or not, is not to the people, it's to the commercial operation. That's one of the reasons why they preserve the commercial clause for themselves in the United States Constitution. That's the reason why they have the 10-mile square and they have the engraving and the United States Treasury Department, where they print the money, where they write the rules, the regulations, and the laws regarding the currency that we use, this fiat money. So let me be very clear about that, because obviously some of you all haven't really studied the history of this country. Don't even understand the little things about how and when the birth certificates were created. When was the Social Security created? Isn't it interesting that these things actually created after 1933? And do you know who was the president in 1933? We're talking about a few years after the Great Depression in 1929, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Is he not the most longest running president in United States history? Yes, he is. They had to come up with another amendment. That's how the presidential Oval Office was reduced after they did the next thing. I forget exactly what the amendment was, but that's what stopped president from running, having 12 years in office. But there's another story for another day, because prior to 1933, African-American people in this country were Republicans. I know that many of you all are familiar with that history, and the racist party was the Democratic Party. Texas was a slave state. Don't forget that. And the famous case of Dr. L.A. Dixon, which many of you may not even heard of this case. He was trying to vote Democratic. They wouldn't allow him. This was an African-American doctor. And the case was out of El Paso, Texas. Dr. L.A. Dixon and the NAACP had to come in and represent him because he was trying to vote Democrat by living in the state of Texas, and they wouldn't allow him to vote. I wonder why. So know your history. Know your history. But I want to continue with another video, and this is from a young brother, only 22 years of age. And I was just kind of a little amazed, if you will, on how articulate he was in referencing Barack Obama and the statement that he made. So take a listen.
Yesterday trying to lecture into supporting Kamala Harris just because she, quote, looks like me. Yo, so I'm CJ Pearson, one of the young black men that President Obama yesterday tried to lecture into supporting Kamala Harris just because she, quote, looks like me. Now, guys, I don't know about y'all, but I think that my ancestors fought far too hard for my right to vote in this country for me to support someone just because they look like me. Especially when that person who looks like me doesn't give a damn about me. Kamala Harris, throughout her entire political career, hasn't done a single thing for black people, black men, or anyone, actually, for that matter. She failed to secure the border. She hasn't created a single job. She is actually probably uniquely terrible at her job. Another person who didn't do a damn thing for black people when he was president believes that black men should set aside our disagreements, set aside our grievances, and just take one for the team. Barack, we've been taking one for the team when it comes to supporting the Democrat Party for decades. And what do we have to show for it? Our inner cities are destroyed. Violent crime is up. We are living in poverty in too many communities across this country. That is the reality of progressive policies in this country and all across America. So no, Barack, I'm not going to support Kamala Harris because you said that is my duty as a young black man. No, I'm going to support Donald Trump, the president who actually delivered for black people, brought about the lowest black unemployment rate in our nation's history, the president who actually gave a damn about our community. That's not rocket science, Barack. It's common sense.
Wow. That's a young brother who's only 22 years of age. And I love what he said in regards to taking one for the team. In case you all wasn't able to hear, the audio is great. But he was talking about, what are we supposed to take one for the team because she's black? That's not a reason. Because we say we've been doing this. African-American people have been doing this. This is asinine. It's crazy. And it's, you know what, what's even more crazier to me when I think about it, we had 8 years of Barack Obama, and all I've heard was how he couldn't move anything through Congress or through the Senate, when it was actually, you had more Democrats in Congress at that time than there were Republicans. And yet I hear all the time how he wasn't able to do this or do that. What if that's the case and she's the vice president now? And I get that she don't have much of authority. There's only a couple of things that she's able to do. She's able to break the vote in Congress when there's a stalemate. So it's not a lot, and she would take over if something happened to the president of the United States or the vice president position. That's what I'm saying, she, because she's the vice president at the moment. But you know, that's what the vice president position represents. But you know, this young man, he recognizes in his short years on this earth, what has this party actually really done over the years? Again, I think that it's insanity to continue to do the same thing over again, expecting to get a different result. And by all means, if there's anyone who could be bitter, who could be angry, who could be upset, would definitely be me. No, I know who I am. My mind is intact. My heart is intact. My religion is intact. I'm very aware exactly what's going on. Because many of y'all, again, are out here pump faking like something is really going on in society, and you have no real concern about what's really being pushed on the left side in terms of transgender, wanting to get taxpayers' dollars to pay for those under medical care to have transgender surgeries and so forth. Yet they want to teach this non-binary concept to young children. Yet, you know, they want to continue having these concepts of men with men and women with women. And then you turn a blind eye. And I'm supposed to accept that. I'm supposed to believe what you're telling me. I'm supposed to turn a blind eye, look the other way. No, you make it do that. but I can't do it. I'm a servant to the Most High God. Can't do it, won't do it. I don't like for evil to prevail, and I'm going to call it how I see it. Now, if you got a real problem, pull up. Pull up. See, I got a real diplomacy about myself, but trust and believe. Trust and believe. And I'll just leave it right there. Because I think it's sickening, and I think people's minds are definitely warped when you can sit back and look at what's going on in our society and how the decadence of this liberalism, where you have freedoms without any type of control, any type of governance, that seem like it's just do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it. And as I said before, we have free will, but it's limited free will. And it's time that we push back. I've seen enough of it. And I think so have other people. And that's one of the reasons why I like Stephen A. Smith comments in regarding this. And again, let me say again, he's voting for Kamala Harris. He's on record saying that. But he also recognizes the BS when he sees it. So I like when he said this statement also. Check this video out.
Well, by about 6 to 8%. It dipped another 6% in 2016 when Hillary was running. It dipped even more in 2020 when Trump ran against Biden. It's been dipping since 2008. It didn't just start. Was that about misogyny? Was that about a hesitancy to support our women? I am getting sick and tired of black men being raked through the coals because of some imagery of not being supportive of black women. Do you know what most black men would do if they saw a black woman getting harmed in the streets? They put their lives on the line for that sister. We talked about the absence of black fathers in the past. What do we do simultaneously? We applaud the mothers who've uplifted us, who've nurtured us, who've made us into who we are. I can make an argument. No one loves women, particularly black women, more than black men. No one. You must know this. Black men support the Democratic Party more than everyone but black women. That means we support the Democratic Party more than white women, more than white men, more than Latino women, more than Latino men, more than Asian women, more than Asian men. Nobody, in terms of percentage, supports the Democratic Party more than black people. Black women first, black men second. Even as we sit here today, as Kamala Harris is neck and neck with Donald Trump, she's getting at least 80% of the black vote, according to the polls.
Now, let me repeat again. And I like the fact that he brought that out, because I'm from a black woman. Love my mother to death. I have a daughter whom I love to death. And if you put your hands on them, disrespect them, that's the day I go meet my maker, or you gonna go meet yours. I told her individual, I don't have a problem with Kamala Harris as a human being. I never questioned whether or not she was a black woman or not. I've never said anything about her if she's, African American. I just want to know, can she do the job? And again, when I listen to her based on her politics, based on her economic plan, I just don't see how she can call herself thinking that she can do a better thing than Barack Obama did back in 2008 and 2012. How do you think that your plan today, with all of the things that's happening today, is going to be better suited than when Barack Obama was in office? Go ahead, I'll wait. It is her politics that does not line up with my politics or my vision or my school of thought. And I'm basing that on my own personal experiences, just like you have every right to base it on your own personal experiences. By the grace of God, I've been very successful in business. I know what it's like to be able to live the VIP life. And again, as I stated earlier, I get mine out the mud every day. Every day. Fair and square. And when I look at the economy right now, nah, it's in poor health. Yes, we still the poor striving rich. We are. We're still the poor striving rich. But at the same time, I do believe in my abilities, in the mind that God has blessed me with, to go out there and roll up my sleeve and assert myself in the economic competition of this society. So I don't know how clear that I can make that statement. And I'm glad also that Stephen A. Smith reminded us in regards into this next clip that I'm going to show right quick.
And if there's a question mark about her, why don't we tell the truth? It may very well have nothing to do with her, per se, but what she has inherited. You have a president in Joe Biden who has his own history. Don't get me started with the crime bill of 1994. We want to bring up Trump in the 70s and rent control and all and denying rent to black folks. We don't want to bring up Biden and how he got along with segregationists in the 70s. We don't want to bring up how Kamala Harris, then a presidential candidate in 2020, called him out for his support of segregationists when it came to busing. We want to ignore that. You don't think black people heard that? You don't think there's some trepidation in the hearts and the minds of black people from time to time? At least from the past? Not even talking about what he's done during this administration, which some people believe his policies and his heart have been in the right place in some of their eyes. You're President Obama. How do you ignore that? Inflation, the cost of living, the price of gas, the price of groceries. That don't matter? Folks ain't paying attention to that? Immigration and our borders.
Again, as he just so eloquently stated, Biden has his own history. Joe Biden was mentored by segregationists out of Mississippi, who was a well-known Ku Klux Klan, according to the Wizard Council that he partaked in. He was his mentor. He authored the crime bill of 1994 that locked up a plethora of brothers who are some of them are just getting out this year from a crime bill that he authorized and Bill Clinton signed. And the politics, again, of the Democratic between Barack Obama's administration, Joe Biden's administration, and if Kamala Harris was to win, you're talking basically 16 years of nothingness. Nah, I'll pass. And again, I'm apolitical. I'm only just talking about it because, again, I recognize my sovereignty in all of this. I recognize I do have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that's been bestowed upon me by my creator, nature's creator, the Most High God. Yo, those are my natural rights. Those are what they call the maxims of law. M-A-X-I-M. I have every right to have those liberties. So that's the reason why I speak about it. Because again, as I stated before, I'm only just an investment partner with the United States. I'm a trade partner with the United States. I respect the laws of the land because we do need laws. I believe in law. I was a criminal justice major. So I understand how laws protects those freedoms. Because without laws, you're going to have tyranny and chaos. So I do believe in the balance of all of that. So again, the election is only weeks away. Whoever you choose to vote for, just make sure that your conscience is intact and that you understand the economic side of it. Because again, I don't believe in plantation politics. And he who does not bring economics up is just like not having a vote at all. If you're voting without having any economics involved, it's like not having a vote at all. You're just wasting time. And you really, truthfully, you're in the way. Everybody else is getting theirs except us. And yet we built this country. So again, I wanted to address this on the Blac-Vocracy show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and notify. Still growing the channel. I appreciate your support. That's going to conclude another edition of Blac-Vocracy. And don't forget, we'll be doing weekly uploads. I want to thank you all for joining me. And I'm going to be doing a live panel with this, so stay tuned. Well, I'll have other special guests coming on right before the election, and it may be sooner than you think. So stay tuned and still let me support. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and notify. This has been another episode of Blac-Vocracy. I'll see you soon.